Alright, lads and lasses, I'm Xcentric Racer. We're back on Forza Motorsport 7 for more racing. Every car you see here is a C-Class car with a V6, whether that's been swapped or has it as standard. First race, we went to Suzuka East, and already there's a lot of close racing and a lot of rubbing paint, swapping paint even. On the outside you can see a Alfa Romeo and a Jeep and a 300 SX all took a trip across the cross. A Ferrari Dino was trying to find its way past me in my Stallion. The Raptor, there was a little bit of lag this evening. The Golf, Mark 1 Golf, just lagged a little bit into the Ford Raptor. That just pushed it wide, pushed it sideways out on the grass behind. Ford Capri went over just went a little bit over the crest, got sideways, assisted or not, I'm not too sure. As we look a little bit further back, there's Clio V6 just got overtook by the Corrado. The Dino went up the inside of the Capri. The Corrado was keen to follow suit, and the Clio V6 was also wanting to get past the Capri. Going 3 wide into the S's, Clio backs out of it. The Capri loses 1 position, so the Corrado gains 2. The Clio is going to go around the outside. That's going to give it the inside for this next section. I think there was a little bit of contact there. What about a Raptor is defending from a GTV6 from the looks of it. Going single file. The Golf you see there, that is a lagged out car. So don't forget that. Yeah, like I said before, there was a fair amount of connection issues, and it wasn't just this one race, but only affected a handful of people, which is a shame, but it happens. Anyway, the Corrado tried to get up the inside of the Dino and couldn't quite do it. As we look a little bit, well, the battle further back, the Capri was starting to be under threat from, yes, the Ford Raptor. The Ford was doing very well. I think this was about 11th. I can't remember from the top of my head. Further up you can see just how close they were running, going 2 wide through the final corner with barely any spaces. The Capri, just out the final corner, just gets a lot of oversteer. That is going to allow the big Raptor to start catching up due to the Capri's very compromised run. And Alan, that was very quick down the straights, would throw up the inside of the Raptor into turn 1. The Milano is again going to try and find its way past the Raptor. Is going to throw up the inside for the first part of the SS. Is going to be around the outside for the next part. However, it's still there. Unfortunately, they just get a little bit connected together. I think the Milano just looked its brakes ever so slightly. That got the Raptor and the Milano connected, and unfortunately they would lose a bunch of time. That meant now the Raptor was full behind a Jeep. Further up, and a Ferrari Dino was battling with a Mark II Escort, if I remember my Fords correctly. I apparently don't in these. However, the Dino is trying to look up the inside. The Ford gets a bunch of oversteer out of the second part of the first corner, and that's going to compromise it through the S's. The Dino is just able to get a very nice overtake. The Clio V6 is keen to follow suit, is going to try and look around the outside of wherever corner on the S's. Does get the past a stick. That was very well done, actually. Yeah, ignore the Golf. The Corrado was trying to find his way past as well. The Clio V6 was up to the back of the Dino. Was a little bit too far back. The Clio, I think, was better accelerating, handling. The battle for third was between me and a wooden Jaguar. That was also quite laggy. Yeah, that was scary. Before this, the Jag was battling with the Mercedes. The Mercedes dropped back a little bit. Can't remember if it was lag assist or not. However, I'm trying to find a way past that. Jag, you can see just how much it was struggling through the corners. It's still on its white walls. I was going to go on the outside, thought better of it. So instead, I'd try and do a cutback up the inside of this. I do get the position to stick. My Stallion was definitely a down the middle road. It was a jack of all trades. It was decently quick through the corners, not as quick as that Mercedes, and it wasn't as quick down the straight as the Jag. So the battle for third here had all three variables: a straight line speed car, a handling car, and then my mixture of the two car. Through the S's, the Jaguar, you can just see how much more planted mine and the Merc is compared to that Jaguar, just wiggling everywhere. And the Mercedes would start to catch up to the back of it. It was just too far back to really make any moves. However, that was just meant the Jaguar and my Stallion was just able to run away from the Merc down the straight. The ball for the front was an interesting situation. Eagle Talon up against yes, in Nissan Safari. This as well was a rear-wheel drive Safari. And yeah, it was always nice to see sort of interesting cars do very well. And well, yeah, the Safari is one of them. The Safari, I think, had very good acceleration. Didn't got the final corner spot on. Actually, was able to go up the inside of the Eagle, and the Safari had massively good acceleration, but yeah, very bad aerodynamics, so that limited the top end. So the Eagle, even though it was very slow on the final corner, was just able to gain all of its time back and throw up the inside through the first corner. So the Safari had to try and re-overtake. The Eagle was quite a good handling car. Well, actually, it was a very good handling car. It was more handling orientated than me. And the Safari, like I said before, was a very good accelerating car, but even that had a lower top end than the Eagle. So it could try and get up the inside, as it does here, and it can run side by side for a little while, but its top end, it just lacks, like, it's not able to keep it there. Further back, and the Golf was in the middle of, well, very big cars. The Raptor was trying to find its way past the R32 Golf, and the Colorado as well was joining in this fight. Yeah, it was always nice to see sort of more interesting cars, like the Raptor, like the Colorado. The Colorado was a very good handling pickup truck. So you can see just how much time it starts to gain through the first and second corner, and through the S's as well. The Raptor was catching up to the back of this R32 Golf. Was having a little bit of sideways antics, not too much though. You can see though, Colorado is right up to the back of the Raptor, and then the Golf is got a Raptor itself up its chuff. I imagine there wasn't a lot of visibility with the Colorado, but you can just see down the straights it was just struggling a little bit. Yeah, at the front, yeah, these two were still at it. These two absolutely flew away from the field. I wasn't even catching up to them, even in clean air. Again, the Eagle would dip wheels on the grass, that would make it run wide, so the Safari had a very healthy lead coming onto this lap. And yeah, I think at this point they were, yeah, you can't even see me in the background. However, the Eagle again just had that top end, would just be able to throw it up the inside of the first corner. Both of them run wide. That's a lap down car, don't worry about it. And would still use its very good handling to keep ahead of that Safari. The back marker does get out the way of these two. That's highly appreciated by everyone. Always a good thing. The Eagle, again, gets a little bit of a wiggle this time. Doesn't run very wide, but gets a little bit of a wiggle through the final corner. And the Safari, you can see, was edging ahead just a little bit. But at the top end, just wasn't enough. And I think this was the final lap. And yeah, the Eagle just had that top end to give it the victory. A little bit further back, and yeah, these four, the Clio and the Dino just stayed very close together. Both of them were catching up to the Mercedes and the Jag. Again, this Raptor, the Colorado did get the position for a little bit, but then just ran wide at the final corner and would just lose the position to the Raptor. There was a lot of good racing. These four as well would stay close together. So Stark Sheep would take victory, Ren would take second, and I would take third with that Stallion. Second race, we went to Silverstone, the International, if I remember my layout correctly. The Golf, you see here, well, the lagged one out, well, the one that lagged out first race, did manage to stay connected, well, got reconnected and stayed reconnected, would go around the outside of a fair amount of cars, it's still stuck on around the outside, as we're going to the first big braking zone. That's going to put up the inside for this bit. Now, the Golf was very quick down the straights and would absolutely soar past a lot of the cars here. Got a little bit boxed in there by the Capri, didn't matter, was just able to just drive around it. It gained so many overtakes, heading up to Stowe, and was just able to outrun them all. The Milano had, I think, just missed its braking point a little bit and clattered the door of the Mach 1 Golf. However, the Mach 1 Golf was still front wheel drive, so just booted it and it straightened itself out. Battle further back, the Milano, the Capri and the Safari were very close together. The Safari would get a nice overtake up the inside of, I think that's Abbey, heading into the braking zone. I think this is Village. I'm terrible with track corners, to be honest. Would get a very nice overtake actually on the Milano up the inside. Milano just gets a little bit of an oversteer moment coming onto this back straight, however has more top end than the Capri, has more top end than that Safari. A Jeep, and I think that's the Raptor. No, it was the Colorado. I was wrong. There you are, there's another mistake for you. They were sort of following, but this was the battle for third, I believe. And yes, we were going 3 wide in a place that was quite terrifying. I would get I was stuck on the very outside, however that gave me the inside for the next 3 corners, and again they're still going 3 wide coming into Abbey. I believe it's Abbey, I'm going to call it Abbey from now on. Between the Talon, the Corrado and the Mark 1 Golf. There was a lot of close racing at this point in the field. The Mark 2 Escort would drop back a little bit for me, and whilst that was fighting, that would allow me to get further away. The Clio V6 gets a very nice overtake coming up the inside of the Corrado. The Mercedes would try as well, however just doesn't have the top end. The Raptor was up here. The Mark 1 Golf would go up the inside coming up the Stowe. The Clio V6 with its superior handling would just go round the outside at Stowe of the Corrado, not the Colorado. That's the Chevrolet. Well done. The Clio, I think, looks like locks the brakes a little bit. Gets a little bit of twitch coming up to this corner. However, didn't lose the position. I was going single file coming up to the start finish. As we look at the battle further back, the Safari and the Raptor was stuck on the outside of Milano. Again, there was a little bit more collision. The Jag phased through the Milano. Don't ask me how. But there's bound to be contact. Not much can be done really when you're racing this close. Collisions are inevitable. The Safari, with its better handling and acceleration, was able to keep its position. The Milano did actually recover quite well, was catching up to the back of these, did overtake the Jag. The Milano was very quick down the straights, did struggle through the corners, however was too far back to make any positions on the Safari. The Safari had a good enough run and was just far enough ahead that both the Jag and the Milano couldn't overtake. And as those two stopped fighting, the Raptor further behind would actually overtake one of them. I think it looked like it overtook the wooden Jag. So the Safari had a little bit of clean air, so could just focus on catching that Mercedes. And like I said, the Safari had very good acceleration, so it was very quick through the first section. Further back, the 300 would throw up the inside of the Jeep. However, the Jeep would just get the position back. The Golf R32 would try and find its way back past the 300. However, was just too far back. I didn't really get a very clean run. However, the Golf did have the superior top speed of that 300, would be able to go up the inside at Stowe. The Jeep was too far ahead for the Golf to try and go up the inside of that. But the Golf does get the 300, and coming up to here, they would stay single file. They'd stay close, but they weren't really in fighting distance. Further up, and the Clio V6 would get up the inside of the Safari. The Mercedes runs very wide through the next part, and that's going to force it right through the next part, and would lose 2 positions, didn't lose 3. The Milano was too far back. The Clio, I think, got a little bit of a tag, and that put it very sideways. So the Safari would go up the inside. Well, it sounded like there was a tag anyway, it could have been a wheel on the grass. The Milano would try and go up the inside of the Safari. But the Safari would keep it there. The Mercedes would get the position against the Clio V6 due to the Clio V6's very slow run coming onto the straight. However, the Clio was immediately to the back of this fight, of this four-way fight. The Milano did end up losing the position to that Safari. The Safari just having too good handling, too good acceleration, really, for that Milano. The battle for the front, and this Dino would spend all of their time looking at the back of the Elan. The Elan was an absolute monster down the straight, but an absolute handful through the corners. So, yes, you can see the gap that the Elan would pull on the Dino coming up to Stowe. But the Dino, through a few of the corners, would make all of that time back up. As we look at the fight further back, unfortunately, I think that is the Milano. I could be calling it the complete wrong car. Again, take a shot if I get a car wrong. That would disconnect. It's a shame. They were having a good fight, but it happens. The wooden jag gets very sideways through the second corner, and there's a Mercedes that's all over the road. I imagine that was terrifying. That threw it across the grass sideways. However, would get the position against that Merc and was able to get a clean run coming down this straight, so we'll just be able to focus all of its time on catching up to the back of that Clio, and catch up it did. However, enough, it wasn't. Back at the front, and the Dino was eventually able to get an overtake against the Elan. Unfortunately, the Elan was just able to keep it up the inside, and yeah, it had the top speed. Whilst those two were fighting, the Golf was pretty close to me, but wasn't fighting me. So I could just focus, I was just able to make up time on that Dino, and I would get up to the back of it through Stowe. However, the Dino was better handling than me, so unfortunately, I couldn't make the position. However, in the end, the Elan did take the overall victory. Just us three at the front, us four, were setting very similar lap times, and whilst I was catching up to the top two, I don't think I would have been able to keep the positions. Now, normally with these races, we have a cooldown lap, because the replays are terrible on this game, but that should be old news to everyone who's played this game, or everyone who's watched Forza's videos. But we normally have a cooldown lap where we say whoever's in the top three, stay in the top three. We may have gotten a bit carried away, so we were continued battling. The Golf would go up the inside of me at Stowe. Yeah, it's it's not normally what's meant to happen. So I'm immediately fighting back up the inside. However, I'm still stuck around the outside. I'm trying to get third back. And as we get round here, we thought, oh crap, it's a cooldown lap. So Nick would take first, Longbow would take seconds, I would take third, but yeah, third race, third and final race, we would head to Sebring, the club circuit. Immediately there was calamities. The Jeep didn't actually load in the race until everyone else set off. So there was a lot of before first corner crashing. Yeah, it happens. Like I said, this evening was full of technical difficulties, but did produce good racing. Anyway, I would get a very good run, actually. I'd get a lucky escape on the first lap. I'm up to the back of the 300 and the Mark II Escort. The little Elan was behind me. I'd try and throw up the inside of both of them. The Nissan, though, would do a very nice cutback. I'm still on the inside. I clatter the curb. That just puts me sideways and into the 300. That was completely my fault. The Elan was just managed to keep out of trouble and just overtake all of us. Further back, yeah, there was a lot of cars in a small space. Speaking of the 300, if that is the correct numbers, coming in the first corner, the Dino took a very shallow line. I think knocked the door of the Nissan, so the Nissan sort of swerved out the way to give racing room, and because of that had a very compromised run and would lose a lot of positions. Tried to go up the inside of the Corrado, and the Corrado just shut the door on it. That meant the Colorado would get the position. Out the front, yes, the Raptor was leading. Was defending from the R32 Golf. The Elan this started at the back and was in third. It was very quick. Was being ping-ponged around a little bit and would have that Mark I Rabbit to keep it company as both of them fought up through the field. Both of them mugging the Clio V6 down the straight, and both of them would go up the inside of the R32 Golf. The R32 Golf being hung wide to dry, and because both of them were much faster down the straight, would just get overtake, and then the Elan would go around the outside of the very fast left-hander and was up the inside of the Raptor. The Raptor, though, was trying to do a cutback. Unfortunately, couldn't quite do it, and because it tried to do a cutback, it was a little bit slower. That allowed the Golf just to nicely drive it around the outside of the Raptor. As we now look at the battle for third this time, yeah, the front two would bugger off. The R32 was still trying to find a way past the Raptor. However, me and the Talon were catching up to this field. I was round the outside of the Clio V6. Did manage to get the position to stick eventually. It did do a cutback on me the corner before, but I just had a good enough run. Again, I would drive around the outside of the R32 Golf with just my better top speed, and like I said, my car still wasn't bad through the corners. The Talon was very late on the brakes, did give the R32 a bit of a Golf, a bit of a nudge. Ignore that, by the way. Whilst I was recording this, I may have sat on the controller. Oops. Yeah, ignore that. Anyway, the Golf was having to defend from the Eagle. The Clio was in striking distance, was just going to allow this fight to go out, see if it could pick up the pieces. The Eagle, though, would do a very nice overtake, just do a clean sweep around the outside. I was going up the inside of the Raptor. However, the Raptor still wasn't giving up, still had pretty good acceleration. I'm still around the inside of the Raptor. The Clio, further back, is going to try and find its way past the Golf. Was, unfortunately, couldn't quite do it through this corner. However, the Golf was struggling for top speed, however not as much as that Clio. The Ferrari Dino this time would go up the inside of both of them into the braking zone of turn 1 and get the position to stick. The Clio as well was able to make a move up the inside of the Golf, and whilst that was happening, the Mark II Escort was catching up. Further back, the Safari would spend, I think, got lag killed by this wooden Jag at turn 1. Can't remember which lap, and would spend the rest of the race staring at the back of it. Yeah, its entire race was just looking at that Jaguar. However, whilst those two were fighting, they were actually catching up to the massive squad of cars up ahead. So, yes, they were fighting for positions. They were still faster than the group ahead. The Safari would try and go up the inside of the Jaguar. However, the Jaguar just had the top end. Speaking of the Raptor, was doing valiantly and was really impressing me of how well it was holding on to this far up the field. I built one, I tried one, I couldn't get it to work. However, this Raptor was working, so kudos on that. However, was coming under threat from the Ferrari Dino. Dino tried to look around the outside, was too far back to make the move on the Raptor. Well, because I mean, the Raptor has a size advantage, quite a big one in that. The Dino though was a little bit further behind, got a little bit of a slide coming through this corner, in the big braking zone. Would try and go on the outside, couldn't quite do it, and was too far back to make a cutback work. As we're coming up to the final corner, is still plastered on the back of that Raptor. Raptor didn't have the most straight line speed, and you can see the Dino was wiggling all over the road trying to get past the Raptor. Would eventually go up the inside. However, the Raptor is still there, unfortunately, just couldn't quite hold on to its position. The Dino would go up the inside. The Escort Mark II was too far back through the first corner, however, did have the straight line speed, so would just go around the outside through the next corner, then a very fast left-hander. However, the Raptor would do a cutback and go around the outside of fast left-handers itself. The Escort, again, will go up the inside, and the Raptor would do a cutback. Position wasn't fully complete, however, that was some impressive battling. It was good fun to watch on the replays. And you know how I said about the Jaguar and the Safari? Yep, they were starting to catch up to the back of the Raptor. He overtook the two cars further back, and the Safari was still staring at the back of that Jaguar. And both of them were coming up to the Clio V6. The Clio V6 was struggling for pace. The Jaguar was keen to make up positions, tried to go up the inside, was just a little bit too far back. So instead would try go around the outside of the next corner. That would make it slower, so the Safari was able to catch up was able to gain a lot of ground, due to an uncompromised run. The Jaguar still on the back of that Clio. The Safari was just a little bit too close, taps the Jaguar a little bit. The Jaguar tried to go up the inside, couldn't quite do it. Was parked it on the apex, so the Safari just bumped into the back of it. The Safari still bumping the back of that Jaguar. And both of them would mug the Clio down the straight. Just both go up the inside. The Milano as well would go up the inside. Would try a move on the Safari. However, the Safari was too far ahead. You know how... Well, at the front, the Elan and the Mark 1 Golf flew. Absolutely flew. But both of them were still very close together. A Golf was just too far back to try and make moves. It wasn't quite close enough. Both of them were very quick down the straight. The Elan more so, so that the Golf was quicker through the corners. I mean, you can see the gap the Elan is pulling. But the Golf was just... it was there, but wasn't quite close enough to make any overtakes. And yeah, as we look back at the wooden Jag and the Safari, both of them will start catching up to the Raptor. The Jaguar is immediately up the back of the Raptor, and the Safari would start going to the back of the Jaguar as well. The Jaguar getting a little bit of a wiggle through the fast left-hander. The Milano would try and go up the inside of the Safari. The Safari, having the superior brakes, wasn't phased, so could just take its normal racing line. The Jaguar was a little bit compromised through there, so the Safari, again, tagged the back, would try and go around the outside of the Raptor. Now that's a scary thought, and didn't quite work out, was too far back. The Safari is again pushing that Jaguar. I think this was on the final lap. The Safari was around the outside of the Jaguar, had more handling, had more acceleration, was alongside, however, didn't have that top end again. And the Safari tried everything and couldn't get past the Jaguar. Also ignore the Milano missing its braking point and hitting the Raptor. At the front, and yeah, the Elan was... yeah, just these two were very close together. And the Elan, I think, managed to hold on to first for the entire battle. May have lost it at one point. However, its straight line speed and acceleration was just that little bit better. And it's easier to defend when you have them advantages. So Nick would take the second win. Yem would take second. It was actually second this time. And I would claim another third. So, there you are. I hope you enjoyed. This evening was a lot of fun, despite all the technical difficulties. Was a lot of fun. The Stallion was lovely. It really was. Was just consistent, and through the corners, it was very nice to drive. And down the straights, yes, it wasn't the fastest, but still had enough top speed that even the power cars wouldn't fly past it. So it was easy to defend the position. If you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that, even though that thing is highly unreliable. If you do want to take part in these, the first link in the description will be the Discord where I'll host this event. If you join up to that Discord, there will be a guide as to how to sign up to these events. Or if you just want to join my Discord, there'll be a second line in the description. That will be mine. Feel free to join that in case you want to take part in the GTA 5 races. However, that is it from me. Till next time, ciao for now.